The house was silent that evening, too silent for comfort. The clock in the living room ticked like a soft reminder that time never pauses. Not for fear, not for guilt. I stood by the kitchen counter, holding a cup of tea that had long gone cold, my reflection faint in the dark window. For weeks, a secret had lived inside me like a ghost, whispering in the quiet moments when my husband, Ethan, wasn't looking. And tonight, I'd finally decided to tell him. Ethan wasn't a cruel man. In fact, he was the opposite. Gentle, patient, thoughtful. But his silence could be louder than any argument. We'd been married for 9 years, and somewhere between career shifts and family visits, we had started living like polite strangers. I loved him, but I no longer knew how to talk to him without feeling like I might break something fragile between us. When he walked in that evening, tired from work, his eyes softened when he saw me. "Hey," he said, putting down his briefcase. "You're still up." "I needed to talk to you," I said. Something in my tone made him pause. His brows furrowed just slightly, the way they did when he sensed a storm coming. "Is everything okay?" I swallowed, my heart thudding in my chest. "Can we sit?" He nodded and followed me to the living room. I'd practiced what I was going to say 100 times, but when I opened my mouth, the words scattered like frightened birds. "I've been keeping something from you," I began. His hand, resting on his knee, stilled. He didn't speak, but his gaze locked onto mine, steady and calm. I took a breath. "It's not what you think," I said quickly. "It's about me. Something from before." I saw confusion flicker across his face, then concern. "Before what?" "Before us." The secret wasn't about betrayal or another person. It was about who I had once been, a version of myself I'd buried so deeply that even I had started believing she never existed. "When I was younger," I said slowly, "I left home without telling anyone. I disappeared for almost a year. My parents told everyone I was studying abroad, but I wasn't. I was hiding." "Hiding?" Ethan asked softly. I nodded. "From someone. From something. I made choices I wasn't proud of, and when I came back, I swore I'd never talk about it again. But it's been haunting me lately. Especially because..." I hesitated, searching his face for judgment. "Because sometimes I see that same kind of loneliness in you. And I feel like I'm the reason." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You think your past makes you unworthy of love?" I blinked, surprised. "I don't know. Maybe I'm just scared you'll see me differently." Ethan stood up and walked toward the hallway. For a moment, I thought he was leaving, that I had broken something I couldn't fix. But he stopped by the closet door, the one near our bedroom, and opened it. "Come here," he said. I frowned. "Ethan, what?" "Just come." I followed, hesitant. The closet was small, lined with his coats and my dresses, a faint smell of cedar and lavender hanging in the air. He stepped inside and motioned for me to join him. It was such an odd thing to do that I almost laughed, but when I saw his expression, calm, grounded, I obeyed. He closed the door behind us, and we were surrounded by darkness. I could hear his steady breathing. "Now," he whispered. "Tell me again." I hesitated. "Tell you what?" "Your secret, but this time here where it's safe. No judgments. No walls." There was something profoundly intimate about being there, in that small, quiet space. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. It was raw, human, unguarded. I took a deep breath and told him everything. The months I'd spent in another city, the job that had gone wrong, the fear, the guilt, the mistakes. How I'd felt like a ghost wandering through my own life. I spoke until my throat burned, and the words turned into tears. Ethan didn't interrupt once. He stood there, listening, the warmth of his presence anchoring me to the moment. When I finally fell silent, there was nothing but the sound of our breathing in the darkness. Then he reached out, not to touch me, but to find my hand gently. His fingers wrapped around mine with quiet certainty. "I'm not shocked," he said. "I'm proud." I blinked through tears. "Proud? Why would you be proud of that?" "Because you survived it," he said simply. "Because you carried all that alone, and you still chose to love, to build a life, to keep moving forward. That's not weakness, Anna. That's strength." I felt the tightness in my chest ease, the weight of years lifting slowly. "I thought you'd hate me," I whispered. He gave a quiet laugh, not mocking, but soft and disbelieving. "Hate you? Anna, I've lived with you for 9 years. You've been my peace in ways I can't explain. If anything, I just wish you'd trusted me sooner. I looked down, feeling both relief and regret mingling inside me. I didn't want you to see me as damaged. I married you because you're real, he said. Not perfect, not polished, just you. For a long moment, we stood there in silence. The closet, once filled with clothes and shadows, felt like a sanctuary, a small, private universe where truth finally breathed. He squeezed my hand again. You know what's funny? What? When I was a kid, my mother used to say, the truth can live in the dark, but it always finds its way to the light. I didn't understand it then. But now, he smiled faintly. Now I do. When we stepped out of the closet, the house felt different, lighter somehow. The silence that had once pressed against the walls now carried a quiet comfort. We sat together on the couch, still holding hands, no longer afraid of the spaces between words. That night, we didn't talk about the past anymore. Instead, we planned a short trip, something we hadn't done in years. A drive along the coast, just the two of us. No secrets, no pretense. Over the next few days, I noticed small changes. Ethan would leave notes on the fridge, little messages like, don't forget to smile, or dinner on me tonight. I started leaving my own. Thank you for listening. I see you too. It was like we were learning each other all over again. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Ethan called me into the living room. He had a box in his hand. What's this? I asked. Something for you, he said. Inside was a small wooden charm shaped like a key, smooth and warm to the touch. It's not fancy, he said, but it's a reminder for both of us. Secrets can lock you away, but love is the key that lets you out. I laughed softly, tears welling in my eyes again. You've been reading too many of my romance novels. He shrugged playfully. Maybe I'm just learning from the best. We shared a quiet smile, the kind that says we're okay now. Months passed, and life slowly returned to its rhythm. But the air between us was different, clearer, softer. I stopped hiding little things, and so did he. Sometimes, I'd still catch myself staring at that closet door, remembering the night I finally told him the truth. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was freeing. It reminded me that love doesn't demand perfection, it asks for honesty. And honesty, when spoken with courage, can turn even the darkest spaces into light.